Welcome to the Sex Science Podcast, where we turn the latest peer-reviewed research on intimacy and sexuality into fun, accessible conversations. Generated by AI and fact-checked by experts, the Sex Science Podcast was created by LaShaw to empower you through knowledge. So, join us as we explore pleasure, relationships, human connection, and everything in between.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're going to be diving into Femtech. Specifically, we're going to be looking at a research paper about what drives innovation in the Femtech market. You probably already know, but just in case, Femtech refers to technology specifically designed to address women's health issues.
Right, like period tracking apps or wearable breast pumps or platforms for menopause support.
Exactly. All kinds of cool stuff that's really transforming women's health.
It's a massive market, too. Huge potential for growth.
Projections put it at like $103 billion by 2030, which is just mind-blowing.
It is. There is a challenge, though. A lot of Femtech startups kind of struggle to get off the ground. There's a pretty high mortality rate, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's what we're going to be digging into today.
We're trying to uncover the secret sauce, so to speak.
What are the factors that contribute to those successful companies, the ones that really make it?
And this paper focuses on something called front-end innovation.
Which basically means all the stuff that happens before a product even hits the market.
So this front-end innovation is all about laying that groundwork, making sure you're building something people actually want and need.
So this study breaks it down into a few key ingredients for success. The first one is entrepreneurial orientation.
So what does that even mean?
Well, it sounds kind of jargony, but it basically boils down to the mindset and approach of the entrepreneurs themselves.
Okay, so are we talking personality traits here?
This study highlights three main characteristics that seem to be common among successful Femtech entrepreneurs. First up is risk-taking.
Okay, that makes sense. You're tackling these issues that maybe have been ignored or underfunded for a long time.
80% of the stakeholders they surveyed for this study agreed that risk-taking is essential in this space.
Gotta be willing to go out on a limb. What's the second trait?
Proactiveness. You can't just react to what's happening in the market. You got to anticipate and shape the future. 94% of the people surveyed agreed that proactiveness is super important.
Okay, so we've got risk-taking, we've got proactiveness. What's number 3?
Competitive aggressiveness.
Oh, interesting. So you're not just sitting back and hoping for the best?
No, you're out there fighting for your place in the market.
Especially with so many new companies popping up in the Femtech space.
And 62% of the people they surveyed said that competitive aggressiveness is a key factor in success.
So it's like a combination of courage, foresight, and then that drive to really stand out.
But it's not just about the individuals leading these companies. The study also highlights the importance of external factors, stuff like societal needs, for example.
Okay, so what are people demanding? Are there gaps in the market?
89% of respondents in the study said that addressing those unmet needs in women's health is a huge driver of innovation.
You're finding a problem and you're creating a solution that actually improves women's lives.
And then there's the digital landscape, how much access people have to technology.
Right, because if you're developing digital health solutions, they need to be able to reach the people who need them.
And 88% of the respondents agreed that this digital penetration is a major factor in Femtech innovation. Another point they highlighted was the potential for Femtech to really address inequities in women's healthcare.
Oh, yeah, bridging that gap that's existed for far too long.
Yeah. 88% of the respondents felt that that was a really important factor. We're talking about addressing historical gaps in research and funding and just taking women's health seriously.
Yeah, women's health has been kind of overlooked and underfunded for a long time.
Right. And Femtech has the potential to really change that, to create a more equitable healthcare system.
That's really powerful. But even with the right mindset and a favorable environment, there's still another piece of the puzzle, and that's intellectual capital.
Intellectual capital. So we're not talking about money here, right?
Right. It's more than that. It's about knowledge and skills and the networks that a startup can tap into.
So it's like brain power and the ability to learn and adapt.
And this is where this study gets even more interesting. It breaks this idea of intellectual capital down into 4 different elements. So first, you've got human capital. This is all about the expertise and the talent within the startup itself, the people who are making things happen. 98% of the people surveyed said that investing in human capital is absolutely essential.
So you need the right people with the right skills to drive the innovation forward.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, so that's human capital. What about the second element?
The second one is structural capital, and that's all about the technology and the organization and the processes that support the innovation.
So it's like the infrastructure of the company.
The systems and the structures that allow people to do their best work.
Okay, so is everyone on board with the importance of structural capital?
69% of the respondents said it was crucial, but 12% actually disagreed.
That's interesting. So, like, maybe too much structure can actually stifle creativity.
Yeah, it's possible. I guess it's about finding that sweet spot between order and flexibility. Something to think about. What's next?
The third element is relational capital, which is all about the strength of a startup's network.
Okay, so who they know and who they're connected to.
And 92% of the people they surveyed agreed that this is super important.
Building those strong relationships with industry players, with suppliers, investors, and of course with customers.
It's all about those connections.
And those connections can open so many doors. They can lead to collaborations and funding and valuable feedback. It's essential.
And last but not least, we have organizational capital.
Ah, yes. This is a good one. This is a startup's ability to learn and adapt as they go.
So like evolving with the market.
Exactly. Incorporating feedback, constantly improving.
And learn from your mistakes.
And your successes. 83% of the respondents in the study highlighted this as a key factor in success.
So basically, you need to be flexible and willing to pivot if necessary.
100%. The ability to learn and adapt, that's what helps a company thrive in the long run.
So we've got intellectual capital broken down into these 4 pieces. Now, what about partnerships?
Yeah, partnerships. That's another major driver highlighted in the study. And you know, it's interesting. The authors of the paper actually found that many tech and health startups specifically tend to avoid partnerships until after they've got a patent, after they've secured their intellectual property and gotten some market validation.
I can see why they might want to protect their ideas early on. But do you think they're missing out by not partnering sooner?
Possibly. Partnerships can be super beneficial, especially for young companies that are just starting out.
So what kind of partnerships are we talking about here?
Well, the study points to 3 main types of partnerships that are really important in the femtech space.
Okay.
So first, we have partnerships with healthcare professionals, like doctors, nurses, midwives.
Right, the people who are actually working with women.
Exactly. They're on the front lines.
They have so much influence.
They really do think about it.
Especially when it comes to like recommending products.
Yeah, if a doctor recommends something, you're more likely to try it, right? And the study found that like 86% of the respondents really see the value in these types of partnerships.
I guess because healthcare professionals, they just know so much credibility to the table.
They do. They bring credibility. They've got a direct line to patients.
They understand the needs and challenges better than anyone.
And it makes you think, like, how should a startup approach these relationships?
Yeah, how do you get a doctor to want to partner with you?
Well, I imagine it takes a few things. A genuine commitment to improving women's health, for one.
Yeah, you can't just be in it for the money.
It has to be about more than that.
And the product has to actually work, too.
Obviously, it has to address a real need.
And be backed up by some solid evidence.
Solid clinical evidence.
So I guess it's all about building trust.
It is not just a transactional relationship.
It's a partnership.
A true partnership. Okay, so that's healthcare professionals. What about institutions? Research institutions?
Universities, hospitals, places with a ton of expertise and resources.
And reach. Reach, too. You're right. They can connect you with a wider audience.
And the study found that 82% of the respondents believe these types of institutional partnerships were important.
I can see why access to research, maybe even like established distribution channels.
That's huge.
It is. And think about the potential for actually co-developing new technologies together.
That's really cool. But hold on. The study also mentioned that 2% of the people disagreed.
Disagreed with what?
With the importance of these partnerships with institutions.
I wonder why.
Maybe they've seen these collaborations go wrong.
Oh, yeah, like get bogged down with bureaucracy.
Or maybe there are concerns about intellectual property.
Yeah, who owns what?
So I guess it really highlights the importance of choosing the right partner.
And being super clear about expectations right from the start.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've got healthcare professionals, we've got institutions.
What's the third type of partnership?
This one might surprise you, influencers and brand ambassadors.
Interesting.
So we're not just talking about like scientists and doctors here.
We're talking about people with a big online presence.
A big following, people who can really help spread the word.
Yeah, especially in the digital age.
86% of the people surveyed actually supported this idea.
But how do you even find the right influencers?
Well, that's where it's really important to understand your target audience.
Like, who are they following online?
Who do they trust? What platforms are they using? And then you got to find influencers who share your values.
And who resonate with that audience.
It has to feel authentic.
People can spot a fake partnership a mile away.
They can. And, you know, the most successful collaborations are the ones where there's that genuine enthusiasm on both sides.
It's a win-win.
But it also paints a really exciting picture of what's possible in the femtech space.
It does feel like there's a lot of momentum right now.
There is. We've got these incredible entrepreneurs.
The investors are starting to pay attention.
And there's just this growing awareness of the need for better solutions for women's health.
It's a good time to be in Femtech.
It really is. And you know what's really inspiring to me? It's not just about developing like the next trendy app or gadget.
It's about creating real solutions for a real problem.
It's about making a difference in women's lives.
Addressing issues that have been ignored for far too long.
And that's where front-end innovation becomes so important.
Because you want to make sure those solutions are actually meeting the needs of women.
Absolutely. It's about listening to women.
Understanding their experiences.
And involving them in the process.
It can't just be a bunch of guys in a room designing products for women. You need that female perspective.
You need to hear from the women themselves.
It's about creating a movement that empowers women to take control of their health.
That's a great way to put it.
And it's a movement that's gaining momentum every single day.
It really is. And for anyone listening who's intrigued by this space,
whether you're a potential investor
or an aspiring entrepreneur,
or just someone who cares about women's health,
keep learning, keep exploring.
The future of women's health is being shaped right now.
Thank you for listening to the Sex Science Podcast brought to you by LaShaw. We hope that you learned something new about the wonderful world of human intimacy and sexuality, and join us next time as we dive into more fascinating research. And remember, science is for you. Music for this podcast was produced by SoundRaw.